So when it comes to food habits, I think it's the same thing. We may have the same behavior because we learned it, we adopted it, we've been in survival mode. Our nervous system doesn't know how else to regulate or what to do. That's just we were handed plates of food to feel joy whenever we were sad or, whatever. Every single one of us is such, and that's another thing that you said that I agree with, is that it's up to us individually because we are made up by circumstances and experiences in our lives. However we behave or however we act, everything is going to come from an internal story. And that story can only be true to our soul note, our individual person. So we can't just generalize that everybody behaves this way or this is how everyone is. We really have to take time to get to know that person. Food rules promises safety, but at what cost? Today, we're talking about how to stop surviving by control and start trusting what your body already knows. Our topic today is letting go of rules and learning how to trust your body and your inner voice. Take it away, Amanda.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Not here to fix you. We are here to talk about feelings, healing, food, and everything in between. I'm your co host, Amanda, a food freedom and guilt recovery coach, and I help women to eat with less shame and guilt, more freedom, and zero diets. And with me today is my other co host, Rosina.
Hello. And I am Lazina, your relationship repair host. Oh my gosh, I'm a loss of words today. I will help you with anything that has to do with relationship repair, whether it's with yourself or close family members or even your relationship with life. And we're not here to fix you. We're just here to sit with you, feel with you. And today's episode's pretty exciting. So let's dive in while my tongue is tied and I'm being awkward. Save me, Amanda.
All right, let's start with how many of us grew up with food rules? Like what were some of the food rules you grew up with? Do you want to start or do you want me to like start off with my food rules?
Um, I actually have to think about that. Food rules. It's like I think it's things that we've already talked about, so that's why it feels like I'm repeating myself. But um, making sure that you're finished eating dinner by 7 p.m. Finishing everything on the plate is another big one. Morning time should be heavy. No, nighttime should be heavy food. Morning time should be lighter. And the carb intake. I think those are some of the rules that I can think of off the top of my head. You have to eat your greens, you have to eat your vegetables, those typical things. But I'm interested in hearing what your food rules are.
My food rules, right? So I had to work out,
Yes.
dessert. That was a food
Mm-hmm.
rule I grew up with.
Yeah.
Don't eat carbs in the night. I mean, in general, they were like, don't eat carbs, but then like, don't eat carbs in the night. You are what you eat. Oh my God, I've eaten so many things and I don't look like any of those things. How disappointing is that? Isn't it?
I mean, I would like to look like a beautiful cupcake. You know how it's nice and swirly at the top, especially with those pearls on it.
What do I want to look like? I think a pizza because I mean, who doesn't lust
You want to be a
that?
triangle or a circle? You want to be a whole pizza or a slice of pizza?
A triangle. I don't know why, but I like the idea of being a triangle. I don't want to be a circle like that. That's too basic.
Okay, now I have other questions and I'm gonna go off topic now, but you asked for this. But is it the pizza with the pretzel crust with the cheese inside? Is it the Alfredo pizza? What toppings are on here? We don't have to answer any of these. I'm just being extra.
All right. I haven't really thought of the topping, but it's definitely a pizza triangle with cheese inside. So there's like the cheese burst effect because I love to give people a little surprise when you bite into the pizza. Okay, like we have one super off topic.
But now I'm hungry. Now we have to have a pizza party. Okay. We're
Yeah. This
professionals.
episode, yes, this episode has turned into from food rules to like food we're after. Okay, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous things like that we heard growing up. But I think they were also like for me, I kept to these rules because they were passed down. But then also I felt like they kept me safe. Ironically, I thought
Yeah.
that sticking to these rules was going to be safety for me and that I wasn't going to lose control. Like if I was within these limits and I adhered to all these things, I was going to, have a decent relationship with food and not go overboard. But
Yeah.
I think for me, it was actually the opposite. And from what I know, most people, they turn out to be the opposite, which is why I'm super passionate about this topic because I am here for all things against food rules. Like I could literally talk about this topic for hours, but I'm not going to do that today. We're just going to try and keep it tight. But yeah, what do you think were some of the food rules that self-sabotaged you growing up? Do you think there's anything that played out into your relationship with food from what you learned about the rules?
It was definitely the one to not eat later at night are the carbs. The carbs is a big one. I think when it comes to carbs, I have so much on, I still a work in progress to not go immediately, no, this is bad. This is not a good thing to eat because that is what keeps me feeling safe, eating the carbs and stuffing my yeah, that's the biggest one is eating carbs late at night. I feel like that's a rule that just it still feels unsafe in my body right now. Just as I'm talking about it, it feels icky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was the sugar one. Like for me, it
That's
was,
another one too, yeah.
um, yeah, like don't I think because I had this idea that sugar is something that's bad because that was like thrown around a lot growing up. I
Yeah.
felt like, oh, I can only eat sugar at certain times. So for me, I would keep it on the weekend. And I think I talked about this in a previous episode where I might have had my cheat day for the weekend and then like I can't have sugar or sugar treats during the week.
Yeah.
So that definitely like tripped me up because if I did end up having sugar on a weekday, then I would feel guilty about it. And on the weekend, I would be like, I don't think I should have this again because I already did have it through the weekday. So like now I shouldn't and I should wait for the next week. But then invariably I'd be like, no, no, but then like, it's the weekend. Come on, I deserve this. It's like a
Yeah,
treat.
you earned it.
Yeah, I earned it. I was trying to earn my sugar, which seems crazy now when I think of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's ironical that these are the rules that we think are going to keep us safe, but then we're just self-sabotaging and we don't even know because at least I didn't know any better back then. Got stuck into diet culture. If people are like listening and wondering what is diet culture, it's mostly the ideas about food and body image that society and the media showcase to a lot of us, especially women. I mean, think we have it harder than men do. Not
Mhm.
saying that men don't struggle with their eating habits or
Right.
their body image, but I feel like as a woman, I could probably speak for other women that we've got a lot harder because you have to look a certain way. You have to eat a certain way. Another one was, I'm a girl, so I grew up with a brother. So I was like, oh, you
Yeah.
can't eat you shouldn't eat more than a guy. Like a guy eats more than a woman.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, but what if I'm like hungry? Like, what do you mean? So yeah, it's kind of rules like that trip you up. And then growing up, you're always watching your plate to see if you have less than what, the men at the table have in their plate because you don't want to like eat as much as them. I mean, I don't want to be judged for that. So yeah, these are all the rules that uh trip me up. And I think I feel like listening to these rules meant that I stopped listening to myself. I couldn't,
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of trusting my body was scary and sometimes it still is, but I have to remind myself like I'm no longer in the diet culture mode and like I actually get to like listen to myself. So now I don't like look and see if my plate has more food on it than a guy. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat what my body tells me to eat. And it's not like I'm eating like that every single day because I feel for women, it changes through the month because of our cycle. So there are weeks where we're like, oh my God, stuff my stomach with everything. It's so hungry. I think that happens during ovulation mostly. But on the other weeks, it's like, I'll just keep it light, especially
Yeah.
during periods. I know some just don't eat a lot. So I feel like for women it fluctuates, but for men, I don't know much about that, but I feel like for men it's constant. But what about you? Do you feel like with the food rules you were able to trust your body with food?
Yeah, so that's something as you're talking, it reminded me of this experience you and I had together. So hopefully this doesn't go off too much. But I when we first met, it was around my birthday weekend or something was happening. And I was telling you that I get into these eating habits, like I eat really, really awful. And again, I know you and I have reframed what eating unhealthy and healthy means, right? But for the sake of explanation, I'm going to use the word unhealthy. I would binge eat, I would eat whatever for 4 days, and after the fourth day I start to feel like I start to shame myself and feel guilty, and my body is starting to break out, and it almost just feels like it's on revenge, having revenge against me. None of the food that I was still dying to eat and was stuffing my face with, they don't taste as good anymore. It was like I was rejecting that. Okay, this is enough now. You've gone 3 days, the fourth day, let's not do this anymore. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I remember. I That because I remember you coming on and telling me that was like one of the like the beginning, right? And I think everyone has this idea of I mean it's normal to have this idea because most nutrition coaches people think that they are there to help them with their diet, but also make sure that they're not eating all the sweet stuff or the bad. Like I'm saying bad
Yeah.
with inverted commas because
Right.
I don't use those terms of food, but for the sake of this conversation, yeah. So
Mhm.
I feel like, people come in with those ideas. And I think you had that idea as well because you came on and you were like, and I don't know, maybe now it'll jog your memory, but you're like, hey, it's my birthday weekend
Mhm.
and I'm just going to eat cake and, whatever else I want. And like there was a pause and I think you're waiting for me to say, no, you can't.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Go for it. Because
Yeah.
I was
And
so confident that you would get sick of it. And eventually,
yeah, and that was one of the things that you told me to pay attention to. It's like after the third day, my body, my whole self was trying to tell me like, okay, we need to incorporate different things now. And so I started paying attention to that back then. And the past couple months, I haven't been, and I've been open with you about this. I haven't been as diligent with my food intake and not my intake, but how I want to eat, how I want to enjoy food. It's been little pockets of joy along the way, but there's been some emotional stuff that's happened that kind of derailed me. And one of the things that I love about what I learned from you though is that every day is a new day to start. Every moment I'm eating or just being mindful around what I'm doing, that and paying attention to my body, paying attention to what I eat. So if sometimes I'll say to somebody, "Oh, I've gained weight," or "I don't like how I look," or something like that, and they'll go like, "No, but you look great and you look wonderful." And I know that that's genuine and that's true and that doesn't change who I am. But I also know when my body is saying, "I don't like how this feels. I don't like where I am right now, not in a shameful way, but in a way that's more gentler to come back to overall mind body spirit connection of who I want to be and how I want to take care of myself because I felt like I've honored the emotional and the intellectual aspect of me, and now when it comes to my physical body is how I can learn to care for myself as the vessel, the temple that I am, so to speak. So I'm paying attention to how my body reacts to certain food is important. And also the emotional tie-in is how safe am I feeling, right? Because when it comes to safety, that some of us, when it comes to rules and structure, it's equating to safety. So if I feel safe in my own self, that's going to give me cues in my body and my eating habits as well. At least that's
yeah.
what I think.
No, but I love that you shared that because yeah, it is true that I do remember telling you that,
Yeah.
every day you start anew. But I think that's very important with especially trusting your body because when you're getting out from like you're trying to leave food rules behind, right? You're essentially
Yeah.
trying to leave diet behind and all the stories that you've been told about food and body image and everything in between. So now you're like, okay, so if I don't, that stuff doesn't serve me, so I need to find things that serve me. And
Mhm.
food freedom is a very individual process because, like I said, you always have to be in tune with your body. But then if you leave that and you start and you're like, okay, but I can't even trust my body because I don't trust myself, all this time I've let everybody else, whether it's the media or, you know, our role models dictate what we eat. And like, that's what we've learned.
Yeah.
We don't make those decisions ourselves. And I'm like, how are we going to trust ourselves? And I think it's good to like keep in mind that you got to take it day by day, which is why I say if you take it day by day, then you know that you can start over and that it's
Right.
not it's not the end of the world if you mess up one day because the whole
Right.
point of food freedom is it's a journey. You can't like, it's a journey, not a destination. That's what I like to say because then you know that, that every journey has ups and downs. So the only way you're going to get through it and leave diet rules behind and food rules is by actually having that compassion for yourself. And that starts with taking it day by day. So, okay, let's say you messed up today. Maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow's a new day. You can do better. And if you don't know how to do better, just do
The best you
the
can.
thing that was the opposite of what you did the previous day. So let's
Yeah.
just say I sat and ate a whole cake and I binged and I was not proud of myself. I say, okay, I'm not gonna do that today. And maybe I'm gonna still binge instead of the whole cake. Maybe I'm gonna have like 5 slices, not the
Mhm.
whole. So just try, I would say it starts with trying to do a little better than you did the previous day. That's something I did when I was on my journey because I didn't trust my body. I didn't
Mhm.
trust myself to make decisions. And I know you have to tap into, like we talked about, like, tapping into your inner voice and how
Yeah.
is that inner voice tells you what's good for you. So this
Mhm.
comes back to the example where I say, oh, but what if I wanted to eat as much as a guy did? Like, what if I was really hungry? I mean, why am I going to be judged and shamed for that? Maybe my body really needs that food. How does somebody else know what my body needs? I'm the only one who can make that decision. So
Yeah.
you have to start by knowing that you take the decision and the decision may not always be right, but you have to risk it. You have to be willing for it to be wrong to learn from it. I don't
Right.
think anyone learns from getting it right. I think we learn from mistakes, not from, our achievements. We learn from our failures, as they say. So
Mhm.
it's just going at it day by day and having a little bit of patience and most importantly, compassion for yourself, which we talked about in one of our previous episodes as well. But that's what I did for myself. And that's kind of what I try and help my clients with. But Lazina, do you have any other way which you use to trust your body and your inner voice?
Well, I am actually wanted to talk about the inner voice. I just to give a voice to the inner voice, right? It's easy to like, okay, I mean, post after the binge eating or after the unhealthy eating, right? There's so much that goes on in there. Like you mentioned, there's generational beliefs, there's stuff that we grew up with, there's the stuff that we see in media. What that moment is like, okay, I just ate a big old cake. I just ate all of this pizza. And while that felt good, if I was in a mind space of celebration, I wouldn't still have that guilt and that shame that's inside my voice saying you shouldn't have done that. And it's it's not easy to get through those voices, especially if I'm eating from a space of like I'm lonely or some kind of a lower emotions and I'm using the food to cope. That is heavily shame. I'm in that cycle. I'm just not saying kind things to myself at all. So it's not it's not as easy to say, okay, I'm gonna have half a cake or less tomorrow. And what I'm trying to say here is that that's really good advice and that's a really good way of looking at it, and that has helped me and it continues to help me when I'm in that moment. But I also want to acknowledge that that portion of time right there is when you need the most self-compassion. It's when you need the most grace, the most time to say to soften towards yourself and combat that shame, because that shame will stay and it just keep playing over and over. Well, I said I wasn't gonna have cookie and then I had cookie and now I'm having two cookies and great. Now I'm having four cookies in that. And I say in those moments, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have five cookies. I'm gonna embrace this shame that I'm holding back. I'm gonna embrace this guilt and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have the whole pizza and tomorrow I will choose differently. And by doing that alone, I will find myself just maybe eating one or two of the pizza. I won't eat the whole pie. Pizzas, I don't like pizza. I'm just using that as an example. So I just want to say, like, towards those, like, I've been in that spiral a lot and it's not a good feeling, and it's hard to think logically or to because even the words are like, okay, I'm not doing that bad, it's like there's these little words that we try to comfort ourselves with, and it's like, no, just I just embrace it. Like, I'm not making healthy choices right now, it doesn't make me a bad person. And really talking to that inner voice and giving it love, like, it's okay, whatever we're feeling, we just need comfort, and if food is what's going to bring us comfort right now, let's just embrace that. And and I'm not encouraging people to just be like, I'm gonna eat every and anything, but it's that shame, man, that shame needs so much compassion. And that I feel is the key, is having that connection with the internal voice and that plays a part in being mindful as well. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think it's cool because you gave it your version of the inner voice, which was like very emotional, like
Mhm.
especially because yeah, I think I approached it a little more logically because like I said, that's what worked for me. So
Yeah.
by telling myself, okay, I can do better the next day,
Yeah.
it's a logical thing. So I was like, oh, okay. I incentivized it on some way by telling myself, you can do better.
Mhm.
And not in a shameful way, just in the I'm confident of myself that I can do
Yeah.
better. But
Yeah.
your way was like, okay, let me embrace that right now. I'm having a moment. It's not my best moment, but I'm having it. And tomorrow is a different day. And then,
Yeah.
I'm going to make more intentional choices, which is
Yeah.
great. So I would say, yeah, whichever method works for you, pick it.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, you need to take my method or Lazina's way of doing it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just test out what you think is going to work for you because
Mhm.
ultimately it's very individualized and it's all trial and error to get
Yeah.
you to stop your food rules. And
Yeah.
what I wanted to add on to the inner voice was there were times I realized that that was not even my voice. Like how you said when you
Right.
had a whole like okay, like for me it's like about the eating the food, right? Like not more than the guy. So I was like, wait, is that my voice? Because that's not something I would say to myself. That's something I've learned. That's come from another person and
Yeah.
that's become my voice, but that's not my voice. So very
Mhm.
often I would have to check and say, oh wait, this voice is currently guilting and shaming me, but is it my voice or is it someone else's voice? And
Yeah.
then you get to choose what decision you're going to take in the moment. And I like that you brought up, we all say like, oh, I'm good or I'm bad based on, how we've eaten or what kind of food rules we followed or don't follow. And I kind of want to make this distinction and say, yeah, it's okay to like use terms good and bad, but don't use them for yourself because
Mhm.
food, if you eat too much, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that your eating behavior is wrong. It's not,
Right.
if you
Yeah.
change like the language a little bit, you won't feel, yes, the shame and guilt will still be there, but it won't be like that intense as it would
Yeah.
be if you just tweaked it a little and said, it's your eating behavior. Because if
Mhm.
you say it's me, it's so easy to lose confidence and then, go back to the food rules and you're never going to break away from that.
Yeah.
And the whole goal of this is I really want women and people in general to have like a beautiful relationship with food
Yeah.
because I don't think food is the enemy. I think food rules are the enemy, but food's not the enemy. We've just
Exactly.
made it the enemy because of all the stuff we've learned. And it's
Yeah.
so much easier to blame food, right? Than rather look ourselves in the mirror and be like, this is what I'm doing wrong. These are my eating
Yeah.
behaviors. This is what I need to change. So yeah, I want for everyone to have like just a lovely relationship with food. and not overthink it and like have those moments of joy. Like Lazina said, like if you are eating those things, I want it to be from a place of joy, not from a place of, oh my God, I shouldn't have, eaten that. Like
Yeah.
now that's just guilt. And then you're eating more because you're trying to put the guilt down. And that's not going to work either. But yeah, do you have anything more you want to add,
Yeah, I
Lazina?
wanted to touch on the behavior part of it. I think when it comes to, in my experience, when it comes to any our personality or ourselves or any relationship we have,
Yeah.
our relationship with emotions and reactions even, we tend to take the behavior as our identity. We tend to make
Mhm.
the behavior what we do and how we don't do it or do it, that's personal, that's who we are. But sometimes those behavior itself, it's just it's a pattern that we learned. We just never learned how to have to separate our emotions from our behavior or our habits. Like we just merge our identity with it. So once we learn to separate, like this is a behavior, but this is not who I am. Um, it tends to make the shame and the guilt go away. There's a standard line that I always hear, which is guilt says that I did something bad, and shame says that I am bad. And a lot of time when we have a behavior, if I'm angry, I make that shame. I make that I am angry instead of I'm feeling angry right now. So when it comes to food habits, I think it's the same thing. We may have the same behavior because we learned it, we adopted it, we've been in survival mode. Our nervous system doesn't know how else to regulate or what to do. That's just we were handed plates of food to feel joy whenever we were sad or, whatever. Every single one of us is such, and that's another thing that you said that I agree with, is that it's up to us individually because we are we are made up by circumstances and experiences in our lives. However we behave or however we act, everything is going to come from an internal story. And that story can only be true to our soul note, our individual person. So we can't just generalize that everybody behaves this way or this is how everyone is. We really have to take time to get to know that person.
Yeah. No, I agree. I 100% agree. And I think it's important that you pointed out that behavior is learned and it can be unlearned and it's not
Yeah.
your identity. That's
Right.
something I think we all forget. We're like, oh, this is how I am. No, it's not how you are. You can change your behavior. I'm not telling you to change your personality, but
Right.
the things you do, that's learned. Like things like I do show up on time, do not show up. That's learned behavior. It's
Mhm.
based on your life experiences. So like when it comes to food or anything in general, just remember that behavior can be learned and unlearned. And I like that you brought that point up because that's actually important and I actually did not even mention it. So it's a good thing you brought it up. I like that. But yeah, I think for me, I pretty much think I've covered everything that I could
Yeah,
on this topic. So if that's the end, then I think we're almost at the end of our episode. Was
we're
there anything you
wrapping it up.
Oh, yeah. It's okay, cool. So we are wrapping it up. But before you go, I just wanted you to know that if you are struggling with why you feel out of control around food, I have a food guilt quiz. And you can take the quiz and discover what kind of eating behavior you have. And like
Mhm.
Nazina said, it's behavior. So you can change the pattern because patterns aren't set in stone.
Yes.
And another point she made was about the emotions, which I think is important when you want to get in touch with your body and like really learn your inner voice. And she has a great quiz on the
I
relationship
do.
repair language. So that's going to help you with your relationship with others, but mostly for yourself. Like
Mhm.
with this episode, it's all about yourself. So I would say take that quiz if you want to repair your relationship with yourself, because that's the start
Yeah.
of really trusting yourself and your
Yeah.
body and your inner voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna leave that in the show notes.
Yeah,
You
and
guys can
the
take.
sorry, Amanda, just to tap in real quick. The quiz is really going to help you understand what your nervous system need to feel safe. So whether that's food, whether that's a mindset, whatever part of your life that is, if it's a relationship in general, But it's really to help you understand what your nervous system needs to feel safe. Continue, Amanda. That's it.
No, awesome. I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes
Yeah.
I forget like exactly what. But yeah, it's we're gonna leave that in. And if this episode resonated with you, please
Yeah.
like, share, and subscribe, guys. Come on, hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this podcast. And on that note, we'll be back with another episode. I don't know what the topic's gonna be, but it's gonna be juicy.
Oh, it definitely is. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys. See you.